Hello internet friends, so good news for Star Wars fans in that EA has finally lost its exclusive rights to make games set in the Star Wars universe. Lucasfilm has rebranded its games division into Lucasfilm Games, which harks back to the olden days of LucasArts with a new logo. It's all interesting, but some of this stuff to a Star Wars fan just seems so obvious and it's taken such a long time to happen. In this video I'm going to talk about that and what the future might hold, but also some of the mistakes that have been made. The first one for me is that exclusive license for EA in the first place. Giving one company carte blanche to create Star Wars games is really not good in that it stifles competition, it stifles innovation. And we saw that almost straight away with EA. They put out the rebooted Battlefront and it was absolutely awful, full of microtransactions, full of cynical game mechanics designed to get people to spend more money, and we can see it. We could see it from the very beginning. Part of this is because EA is used to creating its yearly games, the Madden games and stuff like that, sports titles that nickel and dime the people who play those games. With Star Wars, they really found, with the backlash to Battlefront and then latterly Battlefront 2, that Star Wars fans and gamers in general who are perhaps a little bit more clued up on what to expect from their AAA titles wouldn't stand for it. It's not exclusively the case, and it's always dangerous to talk in these broad strokes about people, but with those Madden games, a lot of people play them who aren't necessarily au fait with a lot of different kinds of games. That may be the only game they buy, and they buy the update, the 2019, 20, 21 update of that game, and that is the game that they play. So they don't have anything to compare it to. So when you're offering them microtransaction, these cards that you buy to fill out your roster and stuff, they're paying for that stuff. But EA really found with its Battlefront games that Star Wars fans, gamers, are not going to put up with that crap, and there was a huge backlash. And I think a lot of that is to do with the fact that EA felt, well, we're the only ones producing Star Wars games. You don't have a choice. You have to come to us. If you're a Star Wars fan, you have to play this game. Yeah, we'll try it, but we're not going to put up with your microtransaction bullshit. We're not going to put up with cynical gameplay loops that are designed to slow down progression so that we buy loot cards to unlock guns and stuff. It's not happening. And EA, to their credit, eventually they got that message, but it took them a long time. And we had two really great games coming towards the latter half of this exclusivity. The exclusivity started in 2013, so they've had it for 7 years. And they eventually seemed to hear the message, creating a game like Fallen Order, which was a great Dark Souls-y story adventure game, and more recently Star Wars Squadrons, which is an excellent flight sim that we've not seen in a long time. A little bit limited, not as in-depth as Star Wars fans would have wanted, but they're at least trying things in different genres. That's all good. But what we've really wanted from the very beginning is different companies to tackle the Star Wars license. When you have different voices, you have different people attempting things from different directions. You just have choice and diversity. And Lucasfilm Games is talking about this now, a new direction for the company. Cynical old me thinks this is not a new direction. Lucasfilm VP Douglas Riley talks about continuing to announce projects that are more representative of the legacy of Lucasfilm Games that we're trying to live up to. Yeah, no shit. After 7 years, you realise that getting rid of LucasArts, completely turning your back on that old legacy and not acknowledging it, and trying to giving the license to EA and one company, the megalithic company that's going to create everything from scratch, as if none of the previous stuff happened, is maybe not a good idea. And actually remembering your legacy, remembering the great games that you had in the past, might influence what you're creating in the future. Because when you've created great shit in the past, then you have to live up to it. Great. This new direction for Lucasfilm Games, they've finally got that message. Only taken 7 years. What happened in the intervening time when you decided, well, LucasArts is gone, sod it? I don't know. But it finally seems that this is the thing, you see. I think I have my problems with social media, the cancel culture, the furor that people make on the internet about things that they don't like. But sometimes I think it does have an effect on these companies, because they are companies out there to make money and stuff. But if enough passionate people stamp their feet and shout loud enough, then you eventually get the message. Don't forget your roots. Create diverse games, innovative and new games, with different companies trying different things. Okay, so they're going in a new direction, but the first company that is going to be making a game that's been announced is perhaps one that I can't speak for gamers. I know I shouldn't try to, but for me, Ubisoft, it's another of those big AAA companies. They have some of their own questionable practices in terms of trying to steer people towards microtransactions and cynical attempts to get more money out of people. The people who are making the Ubisoft open world Star Wars game are the guys responsible for The Division and The Division 2, Massive Entertainment. It's a part of Ubisoft in Malmo, Sweden. The Division and The Division 2 weren't hugely hot for me. They were very grindy. They were kind of a little bit uninspired in terms of just the gameplay. It was a kind of a loop. You just loop through these, you grab the quest, you go to an area, you shoot guys, you have this huge map, you go to these points of interest, but basically each point of interest is go here, shoot these guys, get a blue gun, then get a purple gun, then get a yellow gun, and go up in that progression. It wasn't very inspired, ultimately, The Division, for me, but the idea of an open world game set in the Star Wars universe is something to get excited about. I don't know if you remember, but Visceral Games was working on one that EA I think they'd been working on it for 6 years. EA came along and said, no, we're cancelling that. Because at that time, the prevailing wisdom was that something like that is harder to monetize. We don't do these kind of single player story-driven things. And then at some point they did a huge U-turn, probably because of the backlash to the reception for Battlefront 2, and they created the Fallen Order game as a response to that. I feel like it was a response to that. Yeah, those Ubisoft games, they're very formulaic. They're trying to talk up the fact that they have this cutting-edge engine, the Snowdrop engine, that is going to allow this Star Wars game to really stand out. Is it a cutting-edge engine if it's the engine that they used to create The Division, a game that was created in 2016, 4-year-old game at this stage? I'm not sure that really counts as cutting edge. And certainly nothing in The Division stands out as amazing. But a lot of that stuff is PR speak. I know they can't tell us anything about the setting of the game, the characters at this stage, what we're going to be doing in the game. Although Riley talks about the need for games to be immersive, rich environments, fun to imagine what the team can do at Massive with that mandate, so they kind of know what gamers want, and it's whether or not they can provide that without the need to make boatloads of cash in the process. I don't know how much money these companies need to break even, but I imagine it's not quite as much as they sometimes want. No money is ever enough, and it's that sense of, can the company kind of keep the mission of pleasing gamers and producing good games at the forefront, rather than how much money can we actually milk out of this particular game? Because that is the issue. That is the core issue with AAA gaming at the moment. No money is ever enough. How much can we possibly milk out of this game? And it's led to some nefarious practices, and continues to be something I think gamers need to be aware of and need to keep these companies in check. So who knows if Ubisoft is going to be able to do that. They're not a company that necessarily has an amazing track record for doing that. I think they want to create good games, but you have to fight against those business oriented tendencies to just make as much money as humanly possible, and it can ruin the games. The main thing that I find in these games is not microtransactions. Fine, if you want to make a little bit of extra money on the side, keep it cosmetic. Don't make it too obnoxious so there's ads popping up all over the place. But it's when they design the game so that the gameplay is so grindy, so difficult to slog through, that you start buying these XP booster packs. You start buying things that speed up the progression. I feel like that is the cardinal sin in this tendency. It's to actually alter the gameplay so that it's less enjoyable. You have to buy things to make it more enjoyable. That should never be the case. Create The game at its core should be enjoyable. You can get everything through progression, and if you want to buy these optional microtransactions, do that. Although Riley goes on to say that the relationship with EA is not ending and they have plans there. But this sounds like, to me, it's tied into this creative deluge, for want of a better word, that is coming from Lucas Film at the moment with all its new TV projects and stuff like that. It sounds like they're broadening out the scope of what they're doing in terms of Star Wars, and now they're broadening it in terms of games. And it's something that I feel it was obvious to the gamers from the very start. This is that exclusive deal was a wrong move. It narrows down the possibilities, and it gives one company license to do whatever the hell it wants, because we as fans don't have a choice of where to go. In addition to Star Wars, they're also creating an Indiana Jones game with Bethesda. Todd Howard is working on that one, so they're definitely harking back to what LucasArts used to be famous for, which is taking all those Lucasfilm properties and coming up with game ideas for them, and they're farming those out to other companies now. But the eclectic nature of that LucasArts library, when you look at it, the range of genres, the range of games, it's something I've been asking for years, and I've been really frustrated by the fact that we have basically, well, for a good few years there, we had Battlefront and that rubbish mobile game. Those were the two offerings from Star Wars during the time when the sequel trilogy was happening. If you wanted to play something Star Wars, you played Battlefront, and that was just a ridiculous error. So if nothing else, I'm glad that they're remedying it now. For people on my channel who may be interested in how this kind of new focus for LucasArts, Lucasfilm games might affect Star Wars Galaxies, who knows? The answer is there's always the risk of that game being slapped with the DMCA is always going to be there, whether or not, whatever their plans may be. But I feel like at this stage, if they haven't done it yet, they're not going to do it. So I don't think anything's going to change there whatsoever. So it's not really worth going into very much. If something happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But that's always been the case with Star Wars Galaxies emulation. So we'll see if anything happens. So business as usual. But it does mean that they are listening to fans, and I think that is what businesses should be doing. They should be listening to their customers, listening to their fans, and if the fans want to play an old game, they should let them do that. If fans want different Star Wars experiences, they should find a way to do that. They should not shutter companies that are working on interesting titles. An open world Star Wars game, we've been asking for it for years. Why has it taken 7 years for them to get there? Well, it seems to me like Lucasfilm realized if we stick with Disney, then stick with EA, they are never going to do it. We need to shop around. The exclusivity deal for Star Wars was muted to end in 2023, so we're 2 years early. So who knows what's been going on behind the scenes? Maybe Lucasfilm's just like, look guys, you're not creating the kind of games we want, and we're gonna go and find some people who will. In terms of where it might be set, let's focus on. It might be interesting to speculate about where the Ubisoft game might be set. I really don't want Jedi. I don't want Jedi. We've had that Fallen Order game. It's specific. Want to dig into really sophisticated lightsaber combat. We've just had that with Fallen Order. What I want is not Jedi, first and foremost. I think it would be fun for it to be limited multiplayer, not when they say open world, yeah, open world, but keep it kind of maybe 4 players max, get that sort of tight experience. I'm not really looking for a massively multiplayer Star Wars game at this stage. I've got that with my Star Wars Galaxies fix, and I don't know really what they could create that would be any better than that. So I don't have a huge hankering for a massively multiplayer game, but I think a modern game that takes its cues from things like Destiny and The Division, in this case, with the most obvious example, where you can team up with a small group of friends and explore this open world would be fun. The Division, both of those games are set in very detailed cities, so I'm in two minds as to what the best approach there is. Lavish lots and lots of attention on one world, or go multi-planet. Actually, it might be interesting to really flesh out one particular world. I don't think it'll be anywhere that we know really well. It won't be like Mos Eisley. If it's set in an urban environment, I don't think they'll set it in Mos Eisley. They'll want the license to, and they kind of got the license, but they'll want license creatively to also create their own little city where they can really flesh things out and make it their own. It gives them more freedom to do that kind of thing. In terms of tying things into the output from the TV shows and stuff, I think there's a good possibility that it might be in that Mandalorian time frame. Whether or not you will be playing a Mandalorian style character, I think that would be fun. Having said, I don't really want to go Jedi. Playing a bounty hunter, playing a scoundrel, playing a smuggler, or maybe a rebel mercenary or something like that might be very interesting. But tying it into those existing properties, I would put money on it being set in the Mandalorian time frame. And gunplay is the thing that Massive knows to not leverage that from the Division. It seems like the most obvious thing. So yeah, those are my broad thoughts on it. I think they'll want to flesh out, having thought about it, I think fleshing out like the Rebels cartoon, focusing on that Lothal planet primarily, and having it based there. Maybe you have some missions where you go off and there are some side smaller environments and planets, but I would like to really explore a specific location in a lot of detail. Having been playing Cyberpunk recently, another open world game, it's really good when they lavish a lot of care and attention on like a city or a specific planet, say in the case of Star Wars. Let me know what you think in the comments. Exciting times, with a little bit of trepidation. I don't know what Ubisoft is going to come up with. I hope they don't lump a load of those nefarious game mechanics in there, but I'm going to be keeping close attention on this as we get more news. It sounds like they've been working on them behind the scenes for a while, and so it might not be too long before we see some kind of footage or get some kind of idea of what's going on. But more Star Wars games, more options, more types of gameplay and more stuff is good for Star Wars fans. It's good for gamers, and it's just been a long time coming. I'm glad it's finally here. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you're looking forward to, what kind of games, and whether or not you think more companies might jump on board and we might see different types of games. What kind of Star Wars games are you really hankering for? What characters do you want to play? What do you want to see more of the lore fleshed out? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye.